So this we were discussing, and we have written all classes, that is the student class, a customer, whatever you can call. So this is your student class, the class is what we have written, and the other class what we have is student controller, wherein we have written two methods, one for the get and then the other for the post. So over here, this will be called when you're clicking on the link, and this is called when you're clicking onto the submit button. And we have got this Patsy servlet where we are registering all our beans. And then finally, if you expand this web pages under JSP, you have written a success page for this. That is, let's say over here you can write the logic for getting registered with the database. If it is successful, let's say if you have registered successfully with the database, then you can return the control to the success page. So this was a complete flow yesterday because Tomcat issue wasn't executed. Now let me execute it one more time. Now let us start integrating Spring with Hibernate that we will be discussing after we complete the Hibernate. Now simple Hibernate, it stands for ORM, that is Object Relational Mapping Framework. Now what we have observed is if you're doing the programming with the traditional databases, you have to create all tables by yourself. If you see this, if you're having something called employee table, sorry, this is your employee class. So your object, you will map it to the database in the real time. So that's what we do. That is for the model classes. You have to map that to the table, to the database. And for that, okay, you need to create the tables in the database. This is what we do generally. But the problem what will occur is, let's say today you are working with Hibernate. Let's say, sorry, today if you are working with some XYZ database, let's say you're working with MySQL. And then what you have done is all the queries you have written in your system, that is in your application programming, all the queries are written with respect to MySQL. Now, if you want to paste that, see, so over here you have this. So all the queries, what you have done is you have written this with respect to MySQL. Now, from today, tomorrow you are planning to migrate or to shift to Oracle database. Tomorrow you are planning to shift to the another database, Oracle database, because the performance feature what you require is not provided by the MySQL, and uh, uh, you find few benefits in the Oracle database over MySQL. So the organization has taken a call to shift to the Oracle database. So when you are shifting from one database to the another database, what are the additional steps what you have to take is the application code, whatever you have written to access the database, that has to be modified. So whatever application code you have written to access the data from the database, that should be modified. So this is one. So whenever you're shifting, whenever you're taking a call, it is not that easy to switch because the queries what we have written will be specific to the MySQL, and over here the queries what we have written it is specific to the Oracle. So you will find a slight change in the query. But for your application to run, it is mandatory that you check all the complete application the entire once so that your so that the system does not fail in the production environment when the database is migrated completely from one system to the another system. But so in order to overcome this problem, we have got frameworks that are called as ORM. In order to overcome this, we have got frameworks that we call it as ORM, that is Object Relational Mapping Frameworks. Object Relational Mapping Frameworks. So in the symbol, what happens is, let's say this is your Java object. Let's assume this is your Java object. So O stands for object in relation, stands for the table. O stands for the object, and R stands for relation. So when you're storing this data into the database, when you're storing the data into the table, when you're storing the data, it is obvious the data will be stored in the table. So what happens is, let's say, let me delete this one row, sorry, one column. Where is the delete? Okay, let me do it cut. So what you do is, let's say your object it has got three fields. Let's say your object it has got three fields. Field 1 and field 2 and then field 3. So this is field 1 and then you have got field 2 and then you have got field 3. So your object it has got three fields. This represents your business data. So if you want to store the business data into the database, so if you are doing traditional JDBC programming, if you're doing traditional JDBC programming, then you need to create a table in the system and then create three columns. Let's say what are we recording is first name, last name, and then the email. You're recording first name, and then you're recording last name, and then you are recording email. So whatever properties we are having in our object, that should be mapped to the table. That should be mapped to the table. So that is called as ORM, Object Relational Mapping. So we have done the traditional, like in the previous classes, what we have done is when we were taking help of JDBC, we have to load the driver, create the class, create the table, and then insert the values. All these operations we have to do it manually. And then if there is a change in the database, again it takes a whole lot of D. You need to rewrite the complete code. So the object relational mapping, what it does, it's you don't have to perform the traditional JDBC logic. You can perform the operations in terms of objects and the underlying query or the underlying uh, framework will convert the object calls into the native SQL calls. I repeat, if you are going with the ORM framework, you need not perform all the database operation in its low term. You just need to make use of the framework, and if you invoke the method calls, then the framework will take care of translating those method calls into the underlying framework. So that is the advantage that we get of the object relational mapping framework over the traditional databases or over the traditional programming. There are various ORM frameworks available. One what we have already learned is JPA, Java Persistence API, the entity one, the EJB application, the CRUD application, persist and all what we have discussed. So that will fall under Java Extend Persistence API. So that we have already discussed, which is a framework that will help you perform all the database related specific operations without writing the code. Now, and one more thing or one more problem what we faces is your database or the object. Um, Now over here we have this is something is like inheritance. Employee you have got, address you have got, and one class is extending or it is a composite of both the classes. That is in the object relational, in the objects oriented programming, what we have is we have inheritance concept, we have encapsulation, polymorphism, and in the abstraction. So these concepts are available in object-oriented programming language, but whereas these concepts they are not available in the databases. The OOPS concepts that are available in object-oriented programming methodology, but these concepts they are not available in your databases. So this the difference in mismatch. Again, there is a mismatch in the difference. This is called as impedance mismatching. This is called as database impedance. There is a mismatch in the database concepts and the OOPS concept. And this principle is called as impedance mismatching. That is, you don't have direct, that is the database, the relational database management system. Internally, it stores the data in forms of the table. I repeat, the relational database management system internally it stores the data in the form of table. But this relational database management system does not have any implementation for the concepts like inheritance. We don't have any such property like how one table will inherit from the another table. And then composition, how table will contain another table. This is that. And the polymorphism concept, one table having more than one form. So these concepts are missing in the RDBMS. So this missing is called as the specific term that is given to the differences between the object relational database and the OOPS is impedance mismatch. So this impedance mismatch problem is addressed. This is called as impedance mismatch, and this impedance mismatch problem is addressed by ORM framework. Any questions up here?
Yes.
Is this clear? What do you mean by impedance mismatch?
Impedance, you mean like a ORM has a object-oriented programming concept and regular database does not have.
Yeah, correct. Because like even in when you're creating
Mhm.
relations or when you're creating the table, that is in database management system, that is when you're creating the table, we don't have concept like polymorphism and encapsulation, abstraction. These concepts we don't have in databases. These concepts don't have in databases. But the programming what we are doing is we are doing it using OOPS. So, but those OOPS concepts they are not available in the database, and that concept is called as impedance mismatch. That concept we call it as impedance mismatch, and that is addressed by ORM. If you are using if you are using ORM and if the tables are connected If you're using ORM and if you have the tables connected, let me check whether it is there. Let me,
Another one thing is that like a Hibernate, we don't need to create the database and database connect, relational mapping. Everything will be done by Hibernate.
yes, that is what we say ORM. That is what is ORM, object relational mapping. The framework will do it for you. You just have to specify the class as you see over here.
Mhm.
Mm,
So in suppose if I create a database in SQL, so I don't need to create a database in SQL.
no, you don't have to create. If you see this, this is what the Hibernate does. You specify the class. This class is mapped to the database table. This is your employee class, and the class is being converted into the table. As you said, you don't have to create the tables. It will be done by the framework.
Okay, so here we don't need to write like a create statement, create table statement.
So we are not going to write create table statement. That will be done by ORM.
Okay.
You don't have to write the statement for creating a table at all. That will be taken care by ORM.
Mhm.
So now, how does this is done? Does it? Mm, you've got something called Hibernate types because you see, if this is an integer over here, this is again mapped to the integer value. And if you observe, if this is a string, so if this is a string, this is mapped to this varchar2. So because we don't have any string data type, we don't have any string data type in the databases. We don't have any string data type in the databases. So the string data type is mapped to the varchar2 and the integer data type is mapped to the primary. Likewise, so you have this mapping. So integer is mapped to integer, long is mapped to the long, etc., etc. So when we are converting our model classes into the table, we even map the data type to the how to select or how to specify the data type for a specific parameter of specific value is done with with the help of Hibernate types. With the help of Hibernate types. So this is your Java type. This is your Java type, and this is your ANSI SQL type, and this is your mapping type. This is your mapping type. Okay, with this, if it is integer, integer long, long, boolean, boolean, yes or no, or this one is like true or false. So the conversion is done with the help of this mapping files. Now under this, anything what you want to record into the database is called as an entity. The table over here we call it as an entity. Entity, it is when you say entity it is a representation of a real-time object, or you can say it is a representation of the business data. So if you want to store some customer related information, you will create an entity called customer that will store the business related information. If you want to store information about the order placed by the customer, then you will create an entity by name order that will have the order number, order date, order details. So all the details with respect to the order will be there in the orders table. So when it comes to Hibernate, we have got two types. One is entity type, the other one is value type. When I say entity type, it is an independent entity. That is, it is not dependent on any other context. It can exist on its own. That is called as entity type. But whereas value type, it cannot exist on its own. It is dependent on the primary entity. Value type, I repeat, it does not exist on its own. It is dependent on the another entity. So what do we mean by this independent and then the dependent? I repeat, what do we mean by the dependent and then the independent? And what is the key property that differentiates an entity type from the value type? So when the primary key can be, it says, okay, it should have its own identity. So when a primary key can be given to an entity or when the primary key is allotted to the application, then you have got own, then it becomes an entity. When the primary key is assigned to an entity, then that entity becomes an independent entity. If an entity does not have the primary key on its own, then it is called as value type. If an entity does not have the value type of its own, then it is called as entity. Sorry, value type. Now, over here, if you see the difference between the uh, entity types, let me just use some uppercase. So you have got integer employee ID over here. You have got integer employee ID. Well, this employee ID will form the primary key, will form the primary key. But whereas address type, over here to this address type, you are not writing, or this address type is not having address ID. This address type, it is not having address ID. So this will become a value type. So this will become a value type. So it is dependent on your employee value. It is dependent on your employee. Is this clear what you mean by the entity type and the value type?
Is it the below type is the lookup table in the regular database concept?
It is not a lookup table. Uh, like literally what happens is in your programming, like when you're doing the program, you have created two separate classes. One is employee class you have created and one is the address class. These are the two classes what you have created. So in the database, what happens is, let me check if there is an example. Okay. Hmm. So this is what it happens. So address, if you see, address, you're making a part of the, if you see over here, address, you're making a part of what? Employee. Address,
Mhm.
you're making a part of employee. So address, it does not exist on its own. Address, it does not exist on its own. It is dependent on employee ID. So because the address cannot exist on its own and it is dependent on the employee ID, what are we doing is we are not assigning any address ID to the address field. We are not assigning any address ID to this address field. So it is purely dependent on your employee itself. It is purely dependent on the employee. So once this, okay, let's say if this is executed, you'll it'll create a table. A table is created and this table will have five fields. One is employee ID and you have got first name and then you have got last name and you have got street and finally you have got city. So the address part will get embedded within this itself. Here with this,
Yeah.
you will not have the separate table for the address. You will not have separate table for the address. The fields of the address will be embedded within the employee table. The fields of the address, that is the street and the city, will be embedded within the employee table. So that is what
So
we
it
call.
will not make the application slow when make a query or search for an employee.
Can you repeat your question?
Does it make application slow when we search for an employee in the database?
Okay, when it is searching for the employee, is it going to make the application slow?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it depends. Now, let's say you want, let's say, okay, if in case, okay, if this is split into two tables, if it is split into the two table, then in order to retrieve the data, you require two paths. One over the employee table and the other is over the address table. One is over the employee table and the other one's over the address table. So it has got its own pros and cons. Now, positive effect, what you can say is, let's say you are having some values. And let's say, okay, this employee, he has got two addresses. So in that case, first name will repeat, last name will repeat, and for this address ASTF, and again, okay, this is again address. So over here, if you see, if you're doing making one component part of the another component, then the performance, you can say, it is degraded because you find a whole lot of repetition over here. Clear with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the second thing is, if in case, let's say, this is one negative effect, and the positive effect, what can say is, it will promote polymorphism concept. Uh, that is, if you want to retrieve employee ID, first name, last name, street, and the city, you don't have to take two paths over the two tables. You don't have to go through both the tables, employees as well as the address. So in single table is containing the information about the address as well as employee. The single table is containing the information about the employee as well as the address. So in single pass or only in one pass, you will get the employee as well as address related information. Does this answer your question?
Yeah. So if we search for employee information and the employee address, then it will make faster. But if we just need only employee ID and employee name, then it makes slow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So that is what we have discussed. Most of the OOPS programming language is object oriented, and it will promote what the component is supposed to do. Application development should mostly focus on the application domain, which is the business logic. Your business logic means, when I say business logic, uh, what business requires is you hit submit, it should save. You select view, it should retrieve. I should just get the data. I'm least interested. What are you doing? What is the code you're writing? That is the code to load the driver class and uh, writing your SQL statement, then processing the result set, and then handling the exceptions. This is all the headache of the coding logic. But what the business requires, if I just click on save, it should save into the database. If I just click retrieve, it should pull the data for me from the database. This is what the business requires. But if you are writing some traditional programming code, you do all this load, etc., etc., etc. So what you have to do is you have to give business logic is you just take care of saving. Right? Right. If you just say em dot the method what we have is persist.
I think sound is not clear.
Okay, 1 second. Now is it okay?
Yeah.
Now if you just say save order, it should save it. You are not going to write any SQL statement for this because that is what the business requires. You say save, it should save it. Business is concerned only with the business logic. The all these background stuff what you are doing to make it happen, we are not interested in. So if you see over here, you are just writing em.persist method you have, you will say just save order. So it should save your details or the object, it should save all your order details into the database. You're not going to perform all these repetitive steps, that is loading and then writing the SQL statements, retrieving the result set, exception. So all these operations will be done by the framework. Clear with this?
Yes.
So all the statements, what you write to perform this operation, like you require a whole load. These this we have only written the steps, but the actual code is like more lengthier than the steps what we have written. But these are the steps. So all these four steps, okay, it is just replaced by a single statement. Who does this job? Who does this job? You're not going to write these statements. Or replace the single statement. Who is replacing the traditional KDBC program? Any guesses?
I think I'm not audible.
Anita,
Yeah.
something you said?
Actually, it was not audible a few minutes before. Now I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. So who will do that?
So, what was your question? It sound was not clear.
This one who will do?
Em dot persist it.
Now you are going to write this persist, correct? Now when you're going to write this persist, all these four operations will take place. But you're not going to write the code for this. If you're not going to write the code, then who will write the code for this?
Framework, Hibernate framework.
ORM framework will do this.
And
Now
it also
generally,
control the errors handling and exceptions.
yes, but like certain type of exceptions you need to handle. Let's say okay,
Oh.
you are loading the driver. You're loading
Mhm.
the driver. So if you're switching from one database to the another database, then you have to load the driver for that database also. So you need to again change the code. You're working on SQL, you are using SQL driver. If you're using SQL, you're using SQL driver, MySQL driver you're using. Now, if you're changing to Oracle, you should use Oracle driver. So wherever you have written the statement to load the driver, all those statements should be changed. And
Mhm.
then I have, let's say I'm working with Derby, I will go with the Derby driver. So the moment you change the database, you need to change the configuration of your code also. So when you're switching from one database to the other database, you will get a lot of configuration problems. So again, you need to change. So before you make a call to switch from one database to the another database, you have to again decide what are the various code or what are the various places in which the code should be modified. Right or wrong? Clear with this? Did you follow? What did I say?
So you mean like we don't need to define if we change the database, we don't need to define like a database name or something in
No.
ORM.
Yes,
It
you don't have to
automatically
do that.
detects the database.
Yes, you don't have to do this. You don't have to change that. Framework again will take care. So easily you can switch from one database to the another database. And as said by Hassan, you don't have to change any code and your ORM will take care.
Mhm. Okay.
So, and application development should, that is what it says. And then highly scalable architecture is one with the least amount of direct dependence between the components. It's not directly dependent. You can quickly change from one to the another. So, but most applications make use of relational database to persist the data. Somewhere in the guts of the application, a database is being queried and a response is offered. Now, while the demand for the database is growing, the creation has not become simpler. That is, it is not easy to create the database. So you have to write complete. You need to design the tables, and then you need to populate them, and then you need to test them. But with the help of the Hibernate, you don't have to do all this. The system will do it by itself. So this is the preface, or this is what the Hibernate will provide. Now, starting with this, now first let me show you a demo so that okay, you can understand it quickly. So you click on student, the previous application we are executing. I'm typing something Tom and then Tom and click on submit. The Tom and then Tom. Okay, in the previous application yesterday we were experiencing some error with respect to the server. That is what we have executed. Now let me just show you a simple demo on Hibernate. So you have this.
I think
You can
yesterday
go.
you sent the file. I was not able to download. I was getting error while I was trying to download from the government.
Yeah, I have seen that. What the error did you receive?
Actually,
And it's also getting error.
I didn't get the mail actually. I
Type
got your
down
reply, but not Vatika's mail. I don't know why.
this is the email address.
Yes, I got his reply that it is not working, but I didn't get your mail attachment.
Okay, I'll send this one more time.
Okay.
So Java application, then click next. So under libraries, okay, first step is you need to include the uh, Hibernate library. So this Hibernate library, okay, by default it is provided with the NetBeans, but if you're using Eclipse, uh, you can download the Hibernate plugin for Eclipse, and you can download this Hibernate library from the Hibernate website. So go to this Hibernate website, Hibernate download. So you can download this.
Which one? The stable 5.1.0 final?
Stable platform. You can download this one, final one.
Okay. So that is only sufficient for Eclipse.
Yeah, enough.
And I think for Spring, we need to download only Spring Core 4.2.5 release jar,
Yes.
or we need to download any other thing.
No, that is enough.
Okay.
No, Spring Core, I will not have Spring MVC. You need to download Spring MVC also. If you're doing AOP, then you need to download some specific AOP files. Different libraries you have to download that you can download it from the Maven repository.
Okay. Actually, those I couldn't follow because in December folder, I think our current training sessions are recording, and I didn't see only Spring only showing one video there, and I didn't see any upload after that.
Like we did not have classes for 1 week, I guess. AOP, up to AOP it is uploaded. The last two classes I have to upload. Yeah, last class I have to upload. I think it is uploaded
I
up to
think
AOP.
2 or 3 classes is missing, I think.
Yes,
Only
I'll
after
upload
EJB
it.
there is
I
only
hope it is
one class
converted.
displaying this.
Yeah, it is converted. 2 or 3 classes are there. Last 2 to 3. So that I'll upload.
Yeah.
I guess up to AOP it is uploaded.
That one I saw, there is only Spring Core
Yeah, up to
jar
Spring
is
it is
showing
there.
there.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
only
upload it.
that one is. And when we create the Spring, do we need to create the project Java EE or just regular Java project?
It will work with both. If you're
Okay.
doing web app, if you're including Hibernate and web applications, then you can
Mhm.
go with under web app like over here if you're using
Dynamic web project.
dynamic web project. Acha. Over there in that okay, you have to go it normal and then in the libraries you add it Spring file. Over here if I select, it is a web project only, but it will add the Spring configuration to this. Now let me just click finish.
Eclipse, I think they don't have this option where you are selecting the framework.
No. In the Eclipse, you go to the Eclipse marketplace and then okay, you have to download the Hibernate plugin over there.
Or in the marketplace, you have to download.
Yeah, from the marketplace, you need to download Hibernate plugin. Otherwise, you have to type all things manually. So from there, okay, you will get it. So simple. Now over here, if you see, okay, it has created some Hibernate file. So this Hibernate file, it has got a lot more things. Now you see, okay, you have got these two databases. One is W, other one is Oracle. Let me delete this and then create a file. Categories and then configuration. So whatever it is, click next. So now I'm connecting this on the Oracle. So now look, generally, okay, when you are connecting to the database, you will provide the driver name and the URL, username, and the password. So rather than writing this information, so this will help your application connect with the database, with the Oracle database. Now, let's say you have planned to switch to the other database. So when you're planning to switch to the another database, you don't have to do a lot. Click to this data source properties and just change this to Derby database. Let me show you by creating the another configuration file. Click next, Derby, and then finished. So over here you have, if you see, if you're using Derby database, it is using all Derby specific. And if you want to use Oracle, then you can go with this. So if you want to, so you just have to switch the files if you want to switch from one database to the another database. And then again you have got model. Let's say I'm creating a class called test 123, and in this I'm having two fields, string f name and then the ln name. Now these two form properties must be not mapping wizard. So how to map? Hibernate mapping wizard. Now which class it is mapping? Model dot test 123. Now database table we don't have, and then I can click finish. Now if you see over here, this is what we have. This is what we have. So it is going to create a table with the name test123. It is going to create the table with the test uh, 123, whatever is the class name. Using that again is going to create the table. Next, what you have is now there again you have the properties, that is first name and then the last name. Now if you observe over here, we said that it is going to create a table out of this. Let me copy this and paste over here. Now if you see over, oh shit. Now over here if you see, okay, you have got this something, first name, last name, etc. etc. So for this employee ID, the data type which is specifying is integer, and the column name in the database is employee ID. You don't have to assign the employee ID 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be assigned automatically by the database. And then this is the property name, first name, and the column, and then the second property what you have is last name. So it is going to create a column by name first name, and it is going to create a column by the last name. First you have is ID, and name, let's say, now this if you're keeping this as an ID, then column name is equal to same, you keep it, and then one more property what we have is name. Clear with this? Any doubt in this?
No.
Okay. So this is how you're going to work. And then okay, what you're going to do is you're going to specify the type. So type what you're saying is Java dot, or this is what you're specifying is string data type. You're specifying this as string data type. So internally it is going to create a varchar for you. For this property L name, it is going to create a column by name L name with the type varchar2. So if you provide string, this is your hibernate type. So if you're providing the string, then let us say what is the corresponding data type.
Barker.
Correct. So if you're providing, where is that string? The smallest. This if you're providing, as had said by Hassan, it is varchar. So this is how the mapping takes place. So clear on this?
Yeah.
So what we will wind up with is how we will start. Is it okay if we have class tomorrow? Anita and Hassan, so that I can attend some.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Uh, Tomorrow, is it okay if we have a class?
Uh, yeah.
Same time. How about Hassan? Hassan, are you free? If you are free, then only we'll have, otherwise, no.
This week I have some work actually.
1 minute, there is a lot of echo. Yeah, can you please repeat?
This week I have some work.
Okay, fine. That is the reason I have asked. So next
Mm-hmm.
class will be on Monday. Fine?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. We'll see you.
Okay.
Yes, Anita, your concern?
No, I'm fine with this.
Okay, fine, sure. So then we'll wind up for today. And then again from Monday onwards, we will start programming with the Hibernate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I think if you just upload the some Spring videos, so then I
yeah,
can
sure, I'll
practice
do
them.
that.
Mm-hmm. And you may email that package to my Gmail address because I saw Yahoo address sometimes make problem when I would upload some large files.
Okay, can you please type in your Gmail address?
Yeah. Typing There you go.
Yeah, I got it. I've
Mhm.
received that. Let me just. Like, please try to complete with the EJB application what I have shared with you. It will be easy to follow them because this and that is more or less the same concept wise, but implementation wise. The ORA or the ORM framework will have some differentiation. The EJB cloud application, what I have shared you previously, just try to go through
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah, I'll try to complete that this week.
Yeah, just try to complete that. Then by default, it will be easy to understand this Hibernate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then wind up for today. Then see you on Monday.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, welcome. Bye bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye.